There you go.
A big hello to all of you from my town, Montgomery, Alabama. Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited to introduce to you Bloom Revolution. This time I was in Oklahoma about 50 years ago, something like that. I was visiting my aunt and uncle and two cousins in a little town below Oklahoma City. And for a 12-year-old to go into that town, my eyes were big as saucers. I was seeing, the oil rigs everywhere, the big buildings. I'll never forget it. A big difference between a little bitty southern textile town that I grew up in, where the only thing running through my town was a railroad track. So you can imagine what Oklahoma did to me. So, and it's just, I'm sure things have changed. And yes, I'm from a small textile town, and I realize that. But I was raised in what I call a huge Baptist church, where I feel like I spent half of my life there. And yes, I do know I have a Southern accent. Reverend Lynn did point that out, and I'm very well aware of that. It makes me remember the time I was in New York. We were going to buy fabric in the downtown district, and we went to an elevator, and it was a big building, of course. And there's about 20 people in the elevator. And when we got in, I'm sitting there talking to my friend that was a buyer with me. And I started looking around, and I saw these people whispering and kind of laughing or looking at me like I was something weird. I knew that. But so I said, did I do something wrong? And one of the guys said, oh, absolutely not. We're all love your Southern accent. I said, oh, okay. Well, I hate to tell you this, but I'm not the one with the accent. Y'all are the one with the accent. And they all laughed, and we had a good time, and that was that. So that's my thing on my accent. I really get it, but everybody else has the accent. I first discovered my curiosity of the heavens and cosmos a long time ago, growing up as a kid, and we had a lake house, and my dad and I many times would go out on the pier and just lay down and look at those heavens. And oh my goodness, you want to feel small when you look up. That's the way to do it. We'd go out on the boat sometimes and count falling stars. I was awestruck even back then as a kid. Still am. It still awes me to look up. That interest in God with the Baptist religion, or at least that Baptist perspective, changed later on to metaphysics, a passion for metaphysics. And then that changed to science, and then that changed to consciousness, and all of the above. I was introduced to New Thought actually from Unity Church here in Montgomery. I'd never heard of it before, and I went into the service, and then afterwards they had a library, and I went into the library and I went through the books, and I was awestruck by that. I did not know people thought like that, and I was just passionate about healing and why people think the way they do, why we know things, how do we know things? And this is where I saw this book by Ernest Holmes, and it was called This Thing Called You. And I looked at it and asked if I could check it out. They said yes, and I did. And the rest is history. I never looked back. I literally dropped everything and went forward to New Thought, looked for the best New Thought ministerial school there was on the planet. And it is Holmes Institute. I assure you, I've been there. It's awesome. And it really gave me a real passion for consciousness. So that's where I am now. My passion for consciousness absolutely was the reason that I created Bloom Revolution. In the classes I teach and the books and magazines I've read, uh, people like mystics, doctors, scientists, and physicists, they're all talking about this shift that we have to make, or that's going to come upon us, or that we're at a crossroads. You name it. I get it, but it is very confusing to me, and it's very frustrating to me. Okay, talk about the shift. Well, what do we do? All of us don't know what to do, and how can we do it, and why should we do it, and who needs to do it? I mean, the questions just go endless. So I put together my knowledge of consciousness and God, together with my knowledge from landmark education, and that's really set the spiritual wheels in motion, giving us a way that we can answer all these people who are warning us to shift. What I now know is the shift is possible and doable. Our transformation will support everyone and everything alive. It sets in place a new global possibility to what I call the beautiful life. CSL calls it a world that works for everyone, but it's all done in our commitment. The name's easy to remember, Bloom Revolution. That's simple. It makes sense, and it will work with our commitment. The object of the game is to raise our consciousness, and that's for everybody. When we do, we will support others in their transformation. This, in turn, will have a domino effect that will support our planet. We all have been asked to love one another for centuries. The Bible tells you, love one another. The commandments tell you that. That's another frustrating thing. Okay, love why? I mean, how? Who does that? What does that? My questions just go on and on and on. Thanks to science and a lot of research, we now have scientific information to understand how the universe works on a greater level than ever before. Now, consciousness can be calibrated and measured. For the first time ever, we have discovered within the last 10 years the nature of consciousness. This discovery was made by the late Dr. David Hawkins and many others. He once said, and I quote, "Understanding the nature of consciousness is the most important subject of all subjects to be learned because it underlies all human experience and enterprise. Science can advance no further without understanding it." This was the inspiration to solve the shift we're hearing worldwide we must do. Bloom Revolution uses consciousness, which is love, as the only way to transform our planet according to science. As a flower blooms, so will consciousness. Now, science and spirituality are truly one, working together for our good. Knowing the nature of consciousness is the key to solving the shift. Emotions are an energy in the universe that can be calibrated. Love's energy, and only that, will activate consciousness, and from there, lift us to a higher energy. That is its nature. The higher energy will change and transform the lesser one. Love is the highest energy in consciousness. And what we haven't known until recently is the higher the consciousness is on this planet, the goal of a beautiful life is possible for everyone. We find these answers in the book, The Map of Consciousness, written by Dr. Hawkins, along with 8 other books. There's many more too. He too says, we are at a turning point, and he knows it by understanding the nature of consciousness. He has discovered something we need to know. By using a higher energy, which is love, We can be a part of the solution and use this higher energy, love consciousness, as the only solution and the key to keep the spiritual wheels moving forward toward the beautiful life. Now that we've discovered, I'd say, Houston, there's a problem. Our global consciousness needs our attention. It's time to fill our gas tank yesterday. You know how the news is. It can get worse, but we must focus our attention to always choose love in any situation. This is going to be our new commitment. It's a lifelong one. If it were easy to do, we wouldn't be in this situation. In other words, we must manage our egos, our responses, our forcefulness, and be our true nature, which is love. You know, Ernest Holmes said in his book, and I quote, "It's up to you." He says, "We can't help but create. A person who doesn't love something, a person who isn't happy, and others don't make him happy, is unexpressed. There is a desire in us to love and be happy, to give, to receive. Back of it all, a necessity to create." Close quote. What I'm proposing is doable. In fact, it's critical. What could be a possible solution that anyone, child, teenager, adult, no matter what country they're from, any religion, any race, could relate to or identify with? What can inspire us without saying anything? Consider the bloom or a flower. We all know how good it feels to receive flowers or give them. We all love flowers, the way flowers make us feel. Their beauty and their presence connect us to others like nothing else can do without saying a word. I love the way I feel around flowers. I have them in every room of my house. No kidding. They always touch, move, and inspire me. I think flowers are a gift from God. So why don't we take on that inspiration and that beauty and presence, and we become the flowers, and we become the symbol of a bloom. We become those beautiful ambassadors, using our presence to allow love the opportunity to give the energetic, transformative push to raise our consciousness. The dictionary defines bloom many ways, but I chose two for the appropriate reasons for bloom revolution. Number one is defined a state or time of high development. Number two is to mature into one's potential. So bloom now represents our state of high development as we mature into our highest potential. This becomes our new intention. Our job is to give and create beauty and presence, just as the flowers do, by reaching our highest potential when we choose and give love to life, all of life. Did you know sharing yourself in love is the highest form of creativity? It is. Dr. Hawkins challenges us when he said, I quote, "If love is what moves us, then everything we touch and everything we go and everyone we meet will be made better because of what we have become as a loving person." Love is a silent power that inspires, it heals, it uplifts, it encourages, and improves everything. To love any single piece of life is to love all life, for everything is interconnected. That goes, and that's close quote. That goes for anything with consciousness, such as plants, animals, people, our planet. Anything alive has that golden thread running through it. Some call it God, some call it life, some call it consciousness, whatever. Now let's look at the definition for revolution. There are many definitions of revolution, but the appropriate ones that I chose that for bloom revolution is not one we're familiar with, really. I'm not talking about a planet that revolves around the sun or something like that. And I'm not talking about war between two countries. However, you will experience a war with your ego. I can promise you that. It could be a daily thing, but it will subside as time goes by. And that's another talk too that we'll do. So the definition for revolution that I have chosen is an activity or movement designed to effect a fundamental change in the way you think about something. I'm going to say it again. Revolution, an activity or movement designed to effect a fundamental change in the way you think about something. Guess what? That something is you. Defining your new potential and allowing yourself to be a loving energy is how you will see yourself and hold yourself accountable from now on. It is about how you create, manage, and maintain your relationship, not only with others, but with yourself. Again, this is work in progress. Knowing that you are a positive contribution to our planet's health and your own well-being. Life or consciousness will transform as you do. This is its nature. As you evolve, everyone will have a new possibility and a new potential. Science says we're connected by consciousness. So let's use this knowledge to change our direction to the vision of a beautiful life. Unless you want more of the same or worse. We need to pay attention to our thoughts and feelings. Dr. Hawkins gives us a formula for love. I quote, "If we're motivated by love and love is what moves us, then everything we touch and everywhere we go and everyone we meet will be made better." So there you have it. I give you Bloom Revolution. This is about a commitment you make for life to be your true nature. Love, reaching your highest potential so others will reach theirs. The only player in this movement is you. The only person to shift is you. Only you can change yourself. You know, you means all the incomplete parts of you, who you are. It's your stories, it's the love parts, it's the unloved parts, it's your ego. It's the culmination of everything you have chosen and become until now. You're the only one responsible for raising your own consciousness. The world will take care of itself. Today, you've been introduced to the possibility of a beautiful life. You are the new potential to be a bloom in any life when you change the way you react to respond. If you don't know how or what to do, start looking at the blooms in your life. There are lots of them. You can start by asking yourself these questions. Who was there for me? Who was the light in my life? Who told me the truth? Who was a good teacher? Who always knew my highest and greatest? Who encouraged me? Who sacrificed their time and money? That's just a few. There are many questions you can ask yourself to see the blooms in your life. I'm sure you're a bloom in others' life. You just didn't know the word to call it. They're easy to distinguish when you look, because when you do, you'll find the divine in every single one of them. I had help and support with every choice I made. They were the perfect people to lead me to my destinations. Their spirit was always beautiful, even in the ugliest of times. You can start your bloom revolution right with your immediate family and friends, and then just build up to your place of work or your school or wherever. That's your area. And spirit will choose the opportunities. Knowing what is at stake is very important and critical. And I can't stress this more. Our humanity, our species, everything in our world is what is at stake. Our life is in jeopardy, and it is being shaken because our consciousness is at a level that needs our attention now. The good news is that what caused the problem can solve the problem. If who we were being lowered our consciousness level, then it can be who we're being in love that will raise it. Our vision's clear, the vision of a beautiful life, where a world that works for everyone becomes our focus. I'm not sure that how that'll look, because at the present time, it's kind of hard to tell. But I can tell you this, my favorite book of all times is from Christian Larson, and the name of it is The Pathway of Roses. It was written in the 50s, I think, or maybe even earlier than that. And I'd like to tell you what he says about a beautiful life. It stays on my nightstand, and I hope you buy it. I quote, "Live a beautiful life wherever you may be, and you become a living benediction to all who pass your way. You may see no immediate results. In fact, your beautiful life may have scattered its blessings so far and wide that you cannot find the exact places where the flowers grow that you planted. But that doesn't matter. You have given. In consequence, the world is better off, and you are a stronger soul. You know that not a single good deed can be listed. Somewhere it will bless somebody. You know that every good deed that you may sow in the garden of human life will someday take root and grow. You may not remain long enough to see the flowers. And the fact that your hand planted the seed is pleasure enough for you. To feel that you have given happiness to someone else is the greatest happiness of all. And to know millions will be inspired by the sublimity of your life ages after you are gone. Could anything give a deeper joy to the soul? And yet, this is a privilege that is not given only to the few. There's not a soul that may not look forward to such a future and to such a life. Close quote. Can you imagine such a vision? It just melts my heart every time I read it. It's, the beautiful life is not about big houses and a fancy car and whatever. It's about the opportunity to be a part of creation, using our hearts and our souls as our divine guide. A commitment to love is a profound one. It's a beautiful one that will give us a life that is truly beautiful, just like the bloom. New Thought isn't blind to the fact that we're all connected. They understand this. We all understand this. But I promise you, there are a lot of people that don't. The fact is, our reality, as we know it, will be one way, and the next, boom, it will shift that fast. The next thing we know, we're realizing this beautiful life that we vision. And we don't even know how it happened. I call it in the twinkling of an eye. And that's in the Bible. And it could be just that. The shift could be in a twinkling of an eye. And we won't even notice it. When will it happen? That's going to be according to the committed ones who understand oneness and will choose love. And they're going to choose it for the other people that they don't even know. They're going to be doing the right thing. Anything is possible, and all of us have that potential. You see, our quality, and I want to stress this, our quality of life depends on all of us living our true nature, being love. So let's commit to our own revolution by blooming where we're planting. When you choose each time to respond without fear, force, or pain, you have just created a new potential and possibility. The impact is you will experience transformation from within and without. This is a pure and only way we will ever see a positive change in our world. So my request is commit yourself. Choose it knowing you're supporting not only yourself, but all of mankind, your family, their family, friends, co-workers, animals, and our beautiful planet. Science has given us a reason why. You know the who that's playing it, and when is the best reason to start? Now. And where is anywhere and everywhere. Now is the time to be a blessing to something or somebody without any reasons. Again, I ask you to buy and get The Pathway of Roses by Christian Larson. It will give you a hint of a beautiful life that is possible. And I also ask you to download The Sermon by the Sea, written by Ernest Holmes, to get inspiration. He asked us, and you can Google it, Sermon by the Sea by Ernest Holmes. Boom. And it's quite a long one, but it inspires me every time I read it. I'm sure that's why I went to Holmes Institute, for that very reason. But I'm asking you, be for something. Be for this. And he also asked, find me one person. I'm asking you to do that. Read it and be that person. Read his sermon. You will love it. And I'm going to close tonight with one of my favorite quotes that I want to leave with you by John Harrington. It goes like this: happiness held is the seed. Happiness shared is the flower. Bloom Revolution. Thank you.